All right, so we will actually go ahead and get started. I want to thank you all for joining this session here as we discuss extended learning, brought to you by IAESTE United States. Next slide. So Dan and I have put together this presentation, which I hope will, be really beneficial and provide at least like a lot of, I guess, things to think about and consider as you leave this workshop. We put this together mostly for early professionals to kind of consider the routes and decisions you'll be making as you enter the workforce, and as you may enter or find yourself within the first few years and trying to consider how things are shifting in your field, and what are things that you maybe could consider to make sure that you're on the right path. So first, we'll introduce ourselves. My name is Keenan Toure. I serve as an exchange coordinator for IAESTE United States, and I mainly work with inbound participants and work with our host companies for the US. And then I will actually also introduce Dan. Most of you, I'm sure, already know Dan. So Dan serves as our Senior Vice President for Program Research, and he is also the National Secretary of IAESTE United States. Next slide. Okay, so, and this is just a brief, our agenda for today's conversation. We want to do a deep dive into lifelong learning. The beginning portion of this will be a bit more text heavy, a little bit more instructional, with the latter portion of this workshop, a lot more of us being able to use breakout groups. So I do encourage you all to stick around for the latter portion as we are really excited about the group work. We brought in a couple of mentors to facilitate conversation later on. So definitely stick around for the later portions of this conversation. Okay, great. So lifelong learning. I mean, what do we consider, and what do we think about when we think about lifelong learning? What is it? It's lifelong learning is an idea that assumes that you can't really know. We're just kind of assuming what are the skills necessary for 20 years from today. They can't adequately be anticipated. So, lifetime education can be thought of in terms of two parts. There's the formal, which many of you are in right now in university, and then there's the informal education part, and that takes place, whether independently, at your own pace, or at your job. So the old model of learning was this idea that you go to school, you're in university, and the teachers are just pouring information into you, and you spend the rest of your career and the rest of your life just using that information. The issue with that is that because at the pace in which technology is changing, and we are now late in the information age, it's just really, that's a really unproductive and just outdated model of trying to center economies around, because there's little coordination between industry and university in terms of being able to quickly anticipate and update the skills necessary. Let's see. Martine, could we actually do the first poll here?
No problem. I'm sharing the poll.
Okay. So we wanted to kind of switch over to a poll question for the group.
Let me know if you can see it.
Okay.
Can you?
Yes, we can see.
Oh,
great. So, to get voting, to get to the voting, right? You have to go to the website slido.com and put this code, or just take your mobile phone and scan the QR code with your camera, and the results will be displayed live.
Do you see it?
Keenan?
I'm not able to see the poll.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe stop sharing your screen, Jill.
Where can we find the QR code? Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It's okay. Jill, did you stop sharing?
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Great. So now it should be visible for everyone.
Okay.
Give it just, okay, so we'll give it just a couple more seconds to get a couple more responses. I see they're coming in. Okay, so looks like we have about half the responses coming in. So it's actually definitely a trick question. So all of the above are definitely examples of lifelong learning. Again, if you think about it, the postgraduate work could be considered the formal. And then the other examples are definitely examples of informal, which are either it could be provided by your employer or at your own pace. Let's see, Jill, we can switch back to control.
Okay, so I'm stopping the sharing, right?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, next slide. Okay, so lifelong learning is a very interesting idea in that, you know, we find ourselves being pushed and pulled in different ways to kind of motivate us to take up different learning objectives. So some of the push factors include globalization, automation, and just overall job security. And then pull factors, of course, are things to think about, like developing life skills. So increasingly in the age of COVID, you know, we're seeing the more and more the importance of understanding the digital age. And I guess like for some of our aging population, the ability to use like the internet to do things like pay bills or take care of like daily life necessities, like even ordering groceries, is something that can be a bit stressful. And so just having those types of skills, of course, is, you know, COVID has definitely pointed to like the necessity of some of those skills and continuing to learn even in things like that. Skilling up. So maybe, you know, you work somewhere and you're deciding that you want to add on some additional skills to improve your capacity at work and your productivity, or of course, like leadership communication. You may find that, you know, there is maybe an executive position that you're looking at, or you like to take on more leadership. So that might motivate you to do some more learning as well. Next slide. Okay, so I found this was a really good quote to kind of bring together what we will be covering today in today's conversation. Let's see. So, and it states that, you know, people may well be confronting experiences with globalization and technological changes, but they are also required to take an active approach to their own biographies. And that includes the ways in which they negotiate intimate relationships and construct identity and social resources. So again, you know, it's really trying to consider, you know, those push factors, but also trying to think about, like, you know, what is your brand? How do you see yourself as and your goals is like fitting the employer that you work for, but also your ultimate objective if that lies outside of your immediate employment. Next. Okay. And we just provided here, you see a couple of different really interesting references to what different writers have mentioned about lifelong learning or the need for lifelong learning and what they're seeing in industries. So the first quote, this is actually from in studying the American economy. Since 2000, the share of employment accounted for by high-skilled jobs in the US has been falling. So college-educated workers are taking on jobs that are cognitively less demanding, displacing less educated workers. So of course, that means that there is a greater need for vocational learning because of this. The next quote of references automation. And it actually is quite interesting because it's stating that automation doesn't necessarily wipe out job sectors, but sometimes partial automation can actually increase demand for employment because it reduces the cost. And then finally, changes in production and knowledge technologies have altered the way we should learn, and a well-functioning learning society adapts itself to these changes. Next one. Okay. So and this was taken from a very interesting consulting firm, Burning Glass. What they do is they scrape job posting sites to try to get aggregate data to then come up with these, to see what the labor markets are saying. And what they found here, you can see that they found that the top, some of the top income quartiles in the US have started to require coding skills. So I know a number of you on this call, of course, have some experience with coding. And if you don't, I'm sure that you may be in a sector that also has like maybe you could step over into a hybrid space. We'll get more into like hybrid space careers later. But here you can see that this consultant firm finds that like these hybrid jobs are they're growing, and they are definitely represent the higher quartile in terms of the pay in the United States for in recent like as recent as 2015. Next slide. Okay, and then this kind of just like thinking of the human capital model. So they're stating that lifelong learning is really important and can be influenced by the human capital theory. So this idea claims that an increase in human capital, that is in skills and knowledge, which humans can acquire, has a positive correlation with economic growth. So if you think about it that way, this is not just in the interest of us as individuals and our families, but our countries or our societies are also, they find it important to them as well. So it really is like a micro and a macro thing that kind of works together to try to provide these outcomes of lifelong learning. Next slide. And then looking at how these models work together, this is a reference of a regional reference. And here you see for Europe, I mean, Europe has been pretty serious about lifelong learning for quite some time at this point, and they see it as the most significant strategy for accelerating economic growth, creating jobs, and becoming the most competitive knowledge-based economy. You may be able to point to, of course, like an aging economy, so the need to, of course, scale up people who may be already in the labor sector and need to continue to stay there while increasing productivity. But also with migration, with migration to Europe, and trying to, of course, make sure that you have lifelong learning wherever people are coming into the labor market. Next slide. And here you have Asia, and this is speaking specifically to the ASEAN community. They have a recommendation that nations actually develop policies to promote lifelong learning as an integral part of the national and economic development of those different countries. Next policy. And for Africa, so for the South African Development Community, which is a regional bloc, they have pointed to lifelong learning as one of the key purposes is to create democratic citizenship and connecting individuals and groups to the structures of society, political and economic activities, both global and local contexts. In Latin America. And finally, Latin America, they have since within the last 10 years, they have definitely had an increase in terms of trying to improve, add, I guess, the youth to the component of lifelong learning, where their focus had originally been more so to literacy. They've tried to extend their the realm in which that definition encompasses. Next one. Okay. And I won't go through all this. I just wanted to point out that this is also a sustainable development goal. So it's really important, and you can really see how organizations like IAESTE can kind of also collaborate to improve the capacity for people in lifelong learning. Next one. Okay, so again, we've already started with the government, and now we can definitely go into the individual in the workplace. And these are definitely the three components of lifelong learning. Next one. Okay, and I just wanted to quickly highlight a couple of national policies. So the first one you see is Germany. And Germany currently has a target of that 6% of their national budget, education budget, should be contributed to lifelong learning. Japan is probably the model of lifelong learning. And as of, as of around 2010, almost 1/3 of the entire population has attended some type of social education course, which is kind of how they, the umbrella in which their lifelong learning courses are in. And for Tanzania, they've recently passed several education policies to improve lifelong learning. So I really just wanted to quickly reference this just to encourage you all, just to think about like what your country may be doing. There may be money set aside that can help pay for you to offset your fees in terms of if you wanted to get a certification, if you wanted to go back to school for some like a graduate degree or something. How does your country work? I mean, it could be a community program as referenced in one of the previous sections that kind of is done through like a civic model. So I would definitely encourage you to kind of consider, check with your university to see if they have any references, and check with your local with your local areas like cities and places as well for whether they have money as well. Okay, so next I definitely want to touch on, as you're, we talked a lot about kind of like the broader picture, like, what are countries, what are regions, what are they saying about this? But, it really comes down to you and you having a clear vision about what you want, and it really may vary as you go through your career. But you really must have like your own clear vision, and we will definitely get to the mentoring piece as well, about what you want, so that you can kind of be very selective in terms of what you like to take up in learning. So what we actually do at IAESTE United States is we use SMART goals, and I found them to be very helpful for me in terms of tracking and monitoring my own progress throughout the year. And I've actually also tried to implement them somewhat in my own personal life outside of the office as well. And SMART goals literally stand, the acronym is, the acronym can vary, but this one is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So for the specific, it's really trying to find something that's narrow enough for planning. You don't want a really broad goal that that you're having a really hard time nailing down. Try to be as specific as possible. For the measurable, of course, you want to make sure that it's something that what is the evidence that you're able to look at in order to make sure you're making progress. And then secondly, is it achievable? Is what you've decided to do, is it attainable? Is it something that you can do with the current skills that you have, or is it something that should be shifted to a later date after you've attained gaining some other skills prior to that one? So you definitely want to think about that. And then, is it relevant? So as I mentioned, you want to be clear from the onset of what your overall objectives are. And so by being clear on what your objectives are, you can make sure that whatever the learning opportunity is, it's relatable or realistic to what your goals are. And then timely. You want to always have some type of time base or a deadline for your task. And this just helps you to continue to make sure that, you know, you can continue to build off of your successes, and you're able to see some type of progress. Next slide. Okay, and we want to reference, of course, a couple of different tools that you can use for lifelong learning. The first one is massive open online courses. Examples include Udacity, edX, and Coursera. I recently actually just enrolled in an edX course. The majority of these types of MOOC courses are free. You may find that you will incur like some fees for the certificate portion, but generally you can find a lot of free ones. I know that like edX, you can find a lot of US universities have started adding courses on there for free, such as MIT and Harvard. And I actually wanted to ask, you know, because we have so many regions represented on this call, if you guys could in the chat share some other examples that you may have, like whether it be Europe, Latin America, Asia, Africa, just what are some other online platforms that students can use that may have like free micro courses? Udemy, yeah, definitely, I've heard of them. And by micro courses, we really mean just like these courses that can be broken down into modules. One of the cool things about them is they're usually relatively short. They don't take a lot of time to complete, and they're a lot more digestible and flexible for learners who may be in their career. Okay, someone okay, so I also see Skillshare. They may have a subscription fee. Let's definitely continue to share those. I'm sure there are a lot more opportunities. Free course site. I'm sure there's a lot more which I'm not aware of. So please continue to share those. LinkedIn is also very interesting. LinkedIn for sure. Very interesting website, in that they have, you know, they bring so many things together, whether it be career opportunities or your networks. So they like to call themselves an economic graph. Their data. They like to say that their data rather sits on an economic graph, and it's a digital map of the global economy. So they can already tell candidates how their qualifications for an advertised job stack up against others who are applying. And according to a recent lifelong learning report put together by The Economist, which I would actually recommend you taking a look at if you have time. It's about 3 to 4 years old, but it's a report put together from The Economist about lifelong learning, specifically, and it's very relevant for this community of the tech sector. But what they found is that over time, LinkedIn may be able to use its data for investment advice. And so it may be able to counsel its members on the financial returns to specific skills, and how long they are likely to be useful. So, you know, earlier we referenced how, you know, the skills of tomorrow can adequately be like conceptualized today. Well, there's some idea or thinking that LinkedIn may be able to at least give us forecasts as to like what skills may be relevant for the next couple of years. Okay. And this is definitely a site that we have actually used before, or I believe in, and this is called Future Learn. And here you see at the bottom, it has the duration. It tells you that you can try for free, but there is a fee associated with this. Okay. Okay. And then I definitely wanted to cover the company learning space. This is an often overlooked opportunity. I think as we like venture out into our jobs, and even as we're making decisions as to where we want to work, sometimes we're thinking about compensation only in terms of the monetary or some of the I guess like United States, we're thinking about like health insurance benefits. But a really important thing is how does a company invest in its employees? So, you know, different employees may have different packages they may have internal opportunities for learning. I know here at IAESTE United States, we are always privy to different internal learning opportunities. And so it really is important to kind of pair those opportunities with the ones that you're doing externally to continue to learn. And let's see, so this specific example is from AT&T, and they're a telecom company here in the United States with around 300,000 employees. So they face two big problems. One is rapid changing skills requirements in an era of big data and cloud computing. And the second one is a constant churn of turnover. So, you know, they have people always leaving. And so the issue is, you know, well, what do you do? You know, recruiting from outside is difficult, it's expensive, and it can create, I guess, a climate of distrust among existing staff. So the firm's answer was really ambitious. What they've done is they've developed short courses called nano degrees, and I believe it's with the help of Udemy. These employees work on their own time to develop their skills. So they're doing this outside of work hours. AT&T has also provided funding for these courses, and they also are giving negative appraisals for people who are not interested in taking up these courses. So it's a bit of, you know, a carrot and stick approach where you want to make sure that you provide the opportunities, but they're also giving a negative rating. And again, that also goes back to this idea of how, you know, it's important for us at the micro level, like whether it be individually or for our families to continue to scale up and stay competitive so that we can remain employable. But it's also important for the companies we work for, is they are always looking to make sure that they're attracting the top talent and that they are at the cutting edge of what is the knowledge that's out there and the knowledge that's out there. So again, you want to consider independently, and you want to consider in terms of your employer. And I would highly recommend, you know, that you consider these types of questions even as you're interviewing. You know, what is this company learning space like? Do you guys offer any opportunities? Do you allow employees to make suggestions in terms of learning opportunities? These are excellent types of questions to kind of start with. And also, even as you're starting to do your initial job search, definitely I encourage you to consider these ideas. Next slide. Okay, and with that, I will hand it off to Dan.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Keenan. So when you complete your degree and you're ready to leave the university, as we've been telling you this morning, your learning doesn't end. Think of your degree as the credential that allows you to start being considered for a job. But the transformational changes to our world that are taking place, these things are speeding up the need to be competitive by adding new and different skills to your set of skills that you get as part of university. Keenan made reference to the aging population in the workforce. That's represented by me. I've been in the workforce for 43 years. And during the pandemic, just so that you know, I took micro courses on infographics and conversational Spanish. No one told me to do this, as Keenan pointed out. You have to take the initiative to figure out what are the things that are important for you to do, for you to get to the point in your career that you want to get to. Specifically for the conversational Spanish, it's an important second language in the United States, but it was really inspired by programming that we did thanks to IAESTE Colombia and IAESTE Peru, that we did programming that was required to be in Spanish. And so I thought, really, I should have a sense of what's going on when we're doing the programming with South America, right? I should at least have a sense of what's going on. So I need to educate educate myself at that. So when I took a look around at our organization, we attended 19 separate training modules to get virtual programming off the ground this year. We've been doing virtual or blended programs for 12 years now. We had to figure out, it took us 19 separate training sessions to learn how to do informational interviews, learn how to attend conferences, learn how to attend career fairs that universities were putting virtually, learn how to do virtual training, learning how to do virtual conferences as we did in the jump. But it took 19 separate courses for us to learn about that. And I say courses, as Keenan pointed out, it's the micro courses, right? It's a lot of information that people were giving to us. So what I'd like to do now is to introduce a video on the future megatrends that we found from Australia. And I think for context, I found it ironic that this was published on March 16th. So the analysis that is put into this does not take into consideration the global scale of the pandemic that's taken over in the last 10 months. The video that we will show will describe 6 megatrends, but because of the time for our workshop, we will concentrate on the first 3 that are described in the video. Impactful technology, demographic change, and rapid urbanization. So we're trying to figure out for you to take a look at how you can apply your STEM skills to these future megatrends. Each of you have a different STEM background, and each of you have skills to contribute to addressing these megatrends. Our goal is for you to watch the video, listen to see how you can apply your skills to working in jobs associated with these megatrends, and its skills and your interest areas and the values that you have for your career. Then we'll break the group into different rooms and ask each of the groups to negotiate or build a career ladder using simple words that we've put in the room that describe the things that you will need to add to your skill set to contribute to address a megatrend. So Jill, if you could start the video.
What are the fundamental forces that will change our world? Identifying these trends and understanding their impact is key to knowing how businesses and communities operate today and into the future. These are megatrends, a term coined by John Naisbitt in the 1980s. They are large, transformative processes with global reach, broad scope, and dramatic impact. The University of Sydney Business School has identified 6 fundamental and interrelated megatrends. The acceleration, distribution, and application of computing power, coupled with the exponential growth of data, are enabling extraordinary technological advances. We have entered the 4th industrial revolution.
The pace of change is astonishing. Impactful technologies can range from artificial intelligence to quantum computing, from drones and autonomous vehicles to virtual and augmented reality, 3D printing, robotics, and connected devices.
90% of the world's data has been created in the past 2 years. In the last 5 years, the number of people using the internet grew by 83%. Almost 60% of the world's population is now connected, and almost half of us use social media. Right now, there are over 22 billion connected devices around the world. In 2030, there will be 50 billion.
We are starting to see a massive web of interconnected devices, from consumer products to infrastructure such as streetlights and garbage bins. Our adoption of these connected devices has only just begun.
Machines are getting faster and better. AlphaGo Zero, an AI program, has mastered the game by playing against itself. The use of algorithms is accelerating at an exponential rate, with 90% of stock trades now created by algorithms, up from 75% since 2017. Robots are getting better at building things. Algorithms can diagnose disease, write articles, manage funds, and deliver individually tailored learning. Exponentially more data is being produced through billions of phones, digital platforms, and countless sensors. However, there is a deepening inequality with the spread of technology across the world, and also between citizens and corporations.
Impactful technology also poses significant challenges, from cybersecurity and privacy to rising inequality and job automation. Questions about bias in technologies driven by algorithms and artificial intelligence and how to make them accountable will only increase in urgency and importance.
The pace of change is an invitation to understand the profound shifts that are underway and to ensure that this technology empowers individuals, businesses, and communities. The necessary response to impactful tech is to refine our understanding of what it means to be human. Communities around the world are experiencing rapid and profound demographic change, creating new challenges for businesses and individuals alike.
After more than 200 years of rapid growth, the world's population is set to peak at 11 billion by the end of the century. People are living longer and are having fewer children.
As populations age, there will be fewer workers to support the growing number of people in retirement. For every elderly person, today there are 4 people of working age. By 2050, that ratio is projected to be just 2 people of working age to every 4 elderly persons.
For places like Europe, this will mean a need to increase participation in the labor force from women and the elderly themselves, plus possibly an increased reliance on immigration to sustain the workforce.
Human demographic change is occurring at a different pace across the globe. By 2050, Africa will be the major contributor to global population growth. Africa's share of global population will rise from 16% in 2015 to 25% in 2050. As the developed world ages, Africa's younger population will require very different approaches and policies. If managed well, a youthful population carries an energy that can be harnessed for dynamic economic growth. Demographic and social changes will see governments and businesses finding huge opportunities, as well as facing huge challenges as the largest generation in history, millennials, drive the economy. Millennials and those that come after them will be more educated and come with different expectations regarding opportunity, mobility, relationships, and ownership. If we want to thrive, not just survive, in the 21st century, we must address global needs for more women joining the workforce, lifelong learning, and adequate healthcare. The future is one of cities. Today, more than half the world's population live in cities, generating 85% of global GDP. Globally, we are on track for 60% urbanization by 2030. In the developed world, consolidation will be even more intense, with an estimated 81% of the population living in cities. The majority of this will happen in Africa and Asia.
Whilst urbanization creates huge opportunities for smart eco-cities, there are also significant challenges that come with different types of urbanization, including tremendous demands on infrastructure and the environment, provision of services, and job creation.
Cities consume 3/4 of the world's natural resources. New York, Beijing, Shanghai, and London will need $8 trillion in infrastructure investments alone over the next decade.
By 2030, solid waste management will dominate municipal budgets in low and middle-income countries.
This megatrend has built-in tension due to demographic change. Many cities are set to grow, with 1.5 million people a week joining cities across the world through a combination of migration and childbirth. However, around 100 of the top cities are expected to shrink over the next 10 years, in part due to aging populations in countries like Germany, Italy, Japan, South Korea, and China. New centers of growth are emerging in Asia and in Africa. So, how do we plan, build, and lead better cities?
Healthy cities are about everything we do in our urban lives: our work and our communities, our natural and built environment, the social, digital, and financial layers around them. Cities are undergoing profound changes, from new practices in construction and utilities to transport and logistics, from how we do healthcare to how we share our cities. They are as much about smart technologies and financial flows as they are about the art that flourishes and outlasts laws.
The focus of future cities is ultimately on increasing opportunity and improving the quality of life for the people living in them.
Okay, so that was, we just wanted to give you a background. I encourage you to go and look the rest of that thing, that video. It's, I think it's important, just the university of different things of universality, sorry, of the different things that are happening. You've heard demographic change in everything, technology in everything. It's important. And if you notice a lot of the dates that were used there, the statistics ended in the year 2050. So that's 30 years from now, which is basically your productive work life. This is your reality. Which is why we use this particular one. So I'll turn it over to Keenan for the next slide, and then we will start this exercise where we're going to ask you to start thinking about how do you want to use your skills to contribute to the next, to these megatrends.
Actually, you'll explain this.
Okay, so yes. So what we chose specific skills to use here because some of these skills are not necessarily what you might study or focus on in your engineering degrees. Things like communications, marketing, sales, project management, negotiation skills. These are things that these are some of the words that are going to be seen in these rooms. Again, these are things you won't necessarily focus on while you're in your academic degree. That's the formal learning you've had. Next slide.
Okay, great. So for this exercise, can you mute for a second? Sorry. Okay, so for this exercise, what we're going to do is I'm going to share 2 links into the chat. The first one I'm sharing is you will see is a Google document, which has 3 different job offers. So these are real job descriptions that were taken from LinkedIn. And what we're going to do is divide you into different groups. How many groups, Jill? Do you want? Okay, so we're going to do 6 different groups. So that means that since there are three offers, basically 2 groups we'll be looking at 1 offer. So there's a group A and there's a group A2, group B, group B2, group C, and group C2. So again, I just shared a link to the job descriptions, and what you see on the page is the second Google document that I will be sharing. We're going to ask for, in these groups to discuss, take a look at the job offer, and then take a look at this Google sheet that you see on the screen. On this Google sheet, you should be using the words that are to the right of the directions, and you will need to share those with, just put those in like a career sequence in terms of the skills that you'll need to be taking up in order. So, you may decide for example, for job offer A that, mining big data is important, innovation is important, project management skills are important. And so you'll need to kind of discuss as a group, and come to some type of agreement. What are the different skills that you would like to add? And here, I'll actually wait and share. No, here. Okay, so and this is actually the document. I would ask that you pick 1 person per group to add the skills that you decide to this Google document. And we will come around in case there are any questions within the groups. So again, there are going to be 6 groups. Group A and A2 will take a look at 1 offer. B and B2 will take a look at the second offer, and C2 will take a look at the third offer.
Is everybody back?
Yes.
Are we allowed to have 5 more minutes?
No, see, that's the beauty of life, Demi. No, the reason why we presented it this way, couple things. Maybe our instructions were not as clear. And so people from different cultures who didn't know maybe what we're talking about had to get together and start talking about it and learning about it, right? That is what IAESTE does when we get a job offer, right? We get a job offer from an employer that says, here, this is the position I want you to find. So but it is a matter of thinking about it and researching it and talking about it and figuring out. Very few people give you instructions on how to do this. It kind of leads into our final exercise in our workshop here, which is on mentoring. The idea is if you were faced with those job descriptions, and as Keena said, these are on LinkedIn. We took them from LinkedIn, and one of the jobs is in Turkey. So people from Turkey can apply for that job. But you're going to have a network of individuals to say, how do I figure out how to get how do I want that job? I really like what the company is doing. I really want to get involved. I like the way that work sounds. So how do I get into this position? So again, we kind of made it a little bit, a little bit more confusing maybe, because we wanted to get you to see what it's like to collaborate across cultures too. So the next thing that we're going to do in the next slide. Next slide. Okay, so here we are moving into the last part of our exercise. Here we have we're going to talk about mentorship. We've listed here an article and a link to a pod that's approximately 20 minutes long, so we're not going to listen to it. We encourage you to look at that because it's an idea. This woman has gone through the process of identifying how to find a mentor and how to make a mentor work for her. One of the things that you'll see in this particular one is also the emphasis on individuals who are trying to get into fields which may not have, there are a lot of underrepresented groups. In this case, she's African-American, trying to get into media. That's not as easy to do or has been difficult to do, especially as a woman, African-American woman. So the emphasis is a little bit on that, but either way, she gives a number of different skills or different techniques that you should do and how you should approach this process of finding a mentor. So the last area we want to describe, yes, you are amazing. We all know you're amazing, but you cannot successfully navigate a career by yourself. Not only do you need a network of friends and family and professors and others to keep you informed about opportunities, you actually need a mentor or maybe a group of mentors to provide you with a guidance based on their experience and their knowledge. We've included a link again to the article to this podcast. But we also have brought 3 individuals from our network to talk about their background and how they got into how they view themselves as mentors. We're going to break you into these 3 groups. The mentors in those groups will provide a couple of minutes to talk about how they've used mentors, the importance of how their personal values have guided their careers, and how they created their own brand, because many of you are going to have to create your own brand. You're not going to be able to, you have to sell yourself. And then at the end, they will ask you they'll answer some of your questions. So on the next slide, we will begin starting to introduce them, correct? So our first one is Dr. Kathy Hoof.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kate Hoof, and after 28 years of teaching high school English, mass communications, and journalism, I decided to make a career shift. And I jumped into higher education, where I am now an instructional designer. Instead of helping students, I now support professors build engaging online content for their students. At the age of 47, 3 years ago, I decided to pursue my doctorate in educational leadership. I knew that I wanted to make a career jump for my second career. I wasn't done working yet, for sure, but I didn't know what that would be. And I knew that my degree would help me understand what other jobs were out there that would be a good fit for my skill set. And so upon graduation, I finally figured it out, and I knew that I could build classes and design classes and help professors become better teachers. And so I did just that. During my 28 years as a high school teacher, I did pursue side gigs that were based on my other interests. And one of those interests is video production. So I became a freelance videographer. It didn't necessarily pay my bills like my teaching job did. That was the responsible job. But it allowed me to meet new people, do creative and interesting work, and also to travel to 5 different countries that I never thought I would get to see. If you want to hear more about my journey and this late career shift in my life, I hope to see you in my breakout session. Until then, good luck.
Hi, I'm Angie Schaefer, and I'm the founder of A to Z Ventures, a consulting organization that provides grant writing, program management, project management, and fundraising strategy services to organizations, educational institutions, and recently corporations. I started my career in higher education, actually in study abroad offices, both at a large public institution and then at a small private institution, before moving into a director role in program development at a large international exchange nonprofit. At that nonprofit is where I really honed my grant writing skills and learned about the importance of maintaining relationships with funders, with mentors, and with people that you've connected with over the years to make the most creative programs possible. I moved into consulting when my life kind of demanded that I have a little bit more flexibility. I had kids, and that requires a lot of flexibility, particularly during a pandemic. So I'm very grateful for the success my consulting has found. I could not have been this successful without the role that my mentors and the people I have met along the way have played in connecting me to potential clients and to different organizations. And I'm very fortunate that I get to do work that I want to do and work that I'm passionate about on a regular basis on my own terms. My session will focus on mentoring, and I'll talk to you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Anthony Naglieri. I am a strategic communications and marketing professional, a husband, father of 2 children, 2 cats. I'm based right outside of Washington, D.C., where I currently serve as the chief of staff of Petal, a direct-to-consumer startup that's based in Fort Worth, Texas. So I am working remotely both by choice and necessity. And I've been doing so since this past spring. I also work as a communications consultant, communications and PR consultant, so working with a lot of different companies on various projects. Over the course of my career, I've been really fortunate to have lots of different experiences. I grew up as I was a business school kid, wasn't sure what I wanted to do exactly, so got into the habit of really trying lots of different things out. And I think that is a outcome that, while not by design, has served me quite well over the course of my career. And I believe today, it's the versatility and ability to weave between different disciplines so easily, and cultivating that skill of adaptation that really has allowed me to thrive in various work environments, working everywhere from a major U.S. military academy and major nonprofits in the U.S. and various international causes to professional sports and collegiate athletics. Really developing the types of skills that are transferable to any type of work environment. So while my specialty and background is in PR and communications, I really have found a unique niche, where I'm able to be involved in a lot of different things and have developed a career that has afforded me with a lot of flexibility and a lot of unique opportunities. So if you're interested in learning more, I look forward to speaking with you and talking further about my background, and hope to share some advice and hopefully some helpful takeaways for yourself. See you on Monday. Bye-bye.
Okay, so we'll go into our breakout rooms with the mentors.
Sorry, give me 1 minute.
maybe in the meantime, we can take a group photo.
That's a good idea.
Okay, so please stop sharing the screen, and please everyone turn on your cameras. Jill, can you stop sharing? Thank you. Great. So we need to smile, but yes, I have to close the participants list. Yes. So we have 2 pages of your faces. So I will count down and everyone smile. So 3, 2, 1, smile. And once again, 3, 2, 1, smile. And the second page, 3, 2, 1, smile. And the last one, 3, 2, 1, smile. Perfect. You are the best.
Okay, so again, thank you so much for all of you for attending this session. We greatly appreciate it. You know, all of your attendance and your questions and just participation in the breakout groups. You know, we talked a lot about mentorship and you seeking your own mentor. I think that IAESTE is a great community and that it provides an opportunity for you to seek mentorships, but also to be a mentor to others. And in both those relationships, it also provides opportunities for learning, no matter where we are in our career journeys. So as we close, we would like to open the floor for questions, if anyone has any questions.
Well, actually, yeah, I have a question. Do we have any chance to see, because I see they're filming these sessions, so we had separate conversations with different mentors. It'd be cool to see the other conversation they had in the other rooms. So I don't know if we have any chance to get access to that.
Oh, wow, that actually would have been great. I think the difficulty is that typically, yeah, the Zoom breakout rooms are not recorded. But that would have been really amazing if we could have shared some of those conversations, because I would like to have seen the groups that I was not a part of as well.
But also, someone has put in the link, the chat, that these are the LinkedIn profiles for the individuals that were there. So you can please, feel free to reach out to those individuals if you have separate questions. Of course, you can come to Keenan or Jill or I if you have any questions from the session as well. Keep learning. That was a good.
Yeah, it was a great one-liner.
Cannot emphasize enough. Remember, when I started working, this was you communicated in telex. I mean, that's how long ago so much has happened, and I don't know what you guys are going to be doing in your worlds. So, and we've talked about that in the GC. About the changing nature of the business that we do. You all are part of this, and we're excited to engage your ideas and your energy.
Me too, Dan. I was also, my first job was with a firm called EY, and we were using telexes to communicate around the world, and then faxes. Oh,
faxes. And that technology's gone.
Do people remember getting a camera, taking a picture, and then having to trot off to get it printed? Does anyone remember that? And then finding
the anticipation of what the picture would look like.
And then you finally left the cap on, So the eager anticipation, and you have 24 blank black pictures, which were still printed. You paid for them.
Yeah, and it wasn't cheap.
No, it wasn't cheap.
Oh, black. Yeah.
So any other questions? Otherwise, I guess we're done.
Well, just one, Dan.
Yes,
Sorry.
Javier?
Yes. Well, I think that it was a wonderful exercise.
Absolutely.
I don't want to wait for another year to have another one.
So does this mean Mexico wants to host the next AC? Is that what you're saying?
No, I want to participate with the team you're building, man. We're
trying.
putting us together in so many ways that I think it's excellent. I mean, I don't know if it was a situation caused by pandemics. The thing is that we were forced to move on, really to move on. And we're experiencing this, and we're glad, we're happy. We're sharing here, all of us from all corners of the world. We're really sharing. And this is something that has to be beyond the 1 year thing that we have. That's perhaps the message. And get together every now and then, have these initiatives in all the formats that we can all bring together at some point. But I think that this is a cornerstone to move on.
Definitely. I actually thought it was kind of interesting, again, to kind of consider ways in which IAESTE could be used as a platform. Like you just said, Javier, to kind of, even if it's kind of plugging in and not, like you said, waiting it from a year, but like providing more opportunities for lifelong learning, and provide, the knowledge across different industries or different regions about kind of what's going on and things that can kind of help to elevate the knowledge of the entire community.
Yeah. And we have done things specifically with IAESTE Syria, which has been incredibly helpful to us, which we will at some point be able to open up to all the committees within the Middle East. And then also we are hoping to work specifically with IAESTE Canada on lifelong learning from a North American perspective. So we will be able to record those and get some information and share that with the rest of the community as well.
Well, I would like to add that we have actually lifelong learning lesson during this meeting, and that was, for me, that was wonderful. That you prepared some exercises for us. That was no easy to let's say to solve the problems, but you just make us the possibility to do something, not only to listen or only discuss, but also to do some exercises. That was wonderful. I really love it. Not only this one, that was perfectly prepared, everything. But this point is for me like an input in lifelong learning exercise for all of us here at this workshop.
Yes.
Excuse me, I would have a question. Is it possible still? Thank you for the workshop first. And I just wanted to ask if, because I see we have experienced members here, I would like to ask as a young member, was or is there any kind of opportunity for a mentorship from IAESTE person? Because IAESTE is full of experienced people from all of the fields like engineering. I would also be interested to participate in a program like this or to contribute to a program like this.
Yes, well, it's great that you mentioned it is a two-way street, that you can gain from it, but you also can participate in it. I know the board in the past has also worked with kind of mentoring some committees. And I think there's an energy to do more of that as we continue to move on. There's a lot that the board and the staff have to do at IAESTE, but this is one of the things that we are looking to do. And perhaps with the benefit of the of virtual is that we can record things and share better. So it might be a little time saving, if you will, to be able to do more exercises to mentor new committees or new persons in committees.
And how would it be possible to join? Do you have like...
Keep posted.
Okay, right.
And always, I mean, I will tell you from my perspective, always ask questions. I mean, I know that, and even if you don't think it's relevant, try to ask the question just to see if we can we can get answers, because I know the IAESTE committee, the IAESTE staff look for input of how they can help different committees.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that's it, right? So thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing you this afternoon soon. Well, it's coming up on 12 noon here. So whatever time of day it is for you, we look forward to seeing you soon.
It's the evening for us over here.
Yes. So have a good evening. Have a good dinner.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. The group photo is posted on social wall.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.